Right, you guys, I'm looking a bit sharp today. That's because today's video is a bit different. Today I'm at the Harrogate Flower Show. This is my very first flower show of the series. When it comes to this series, this is all about finding some of the small space show gardens. We're going to visit some gardens and learn all about shade planting, edible planting, and lots of different ideas to help us maximize on our small spaces. So let's get going. If you've never been to a flower show before, you are missing out. Flower shows are places where nurseries come and showcase some of their best plants. You'll find trade stands, but you'll also find some fantastic designs by garden designers. Today we're going to be finding out how to really maximize on space in our gardens. But before we get into that, I wanted to find out a little bit more about the Harrogate Flower Show, and to do that I'm going to be meeting the big boss. This stunning garden won Best in Show, and it's here that I'm going to be meeting the show director.
I'm Nick Smith and I'm show director at the Harrogate Flower Shows.
Thank you so much, Nick. Every year I come to this show, it just seems to elevate and go to the next level. What's that process been like for you behind the scenes?
It's one of those things that until you see it finally come together, you never quite know what's going to happen. So it's lovely for us to see over the last few years, since COVID has been difficult for a lot of people. Since COVID, us bringing this back and bringing the joy of plants back to people. And I think you can just see from today that that's reflected in the audience, in the quality of the nurseries, and just the displays that we've managed to achieve, or that these guys have all managed to achieve. It's just brilliant.
And it's so busy as well.
It is, yeah, and we're very fortunate that the weather has stayed on our side, but I think there is that commitment to gardening and commitment to plants that people do have, and we want to encourage that as much as possible.
Yeah, I can see you guys have just done an absolutely fantastic job with that. And there's not just one show in Harrogate, there's two. So you've got spring and autumn. That sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but do you know what? It doesn't seem like work, because it just seems like it's just lovely to bring all of these people together, to be part of that, to actually just showcase what's great about horticulture. And we get the chance to do that, to start the season in April for the spring show, and to end the season as well in autumn for that. So it's great from our point of view.
And I think one thing that's really interesting is how you've tried to bring everybody in. It's not just for those really experienced gardeners. Everyone's welcome. How do you do that through your planning?
It's purely to make sure that we're looking here out from a show garden to a creative border, which is a quarter of the size of the show garden. And we do that because we involve community groups in that, because we involve a range of organisations that aren't your traditional I do a show garden type of people. And that means that people who are parts of those groups come and see that. So if you involve them at the very beginning, you involve everyone at the very beginning, then everyone will come, is our thought process.
I couldn't think of a better way to say that. So thank you very, very much, and please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, cheers.
Cheers.
With a driving force like Nick, it's no wonder that the show is going from strength to strength. Now this garden is incredible. Be prepared, because we are about to take a masterclass.
I'm Melissa Morton from Melissa Morton Garden and Landscape Design, based in Ilkley, West Yorkshire.
Thank you so much for having me on the garden. It is stunning.
Thank you very much.
And it won Best in Show.
It did, and it's my first show garden, so I'm very pleased with that.
Very first show garden, Best in Show. And how long did you have to put this together?
I was asked about 8 weeks ago. So it was a baptism of fire, but it was the APL who asked me and I couldn't refuse.
Where did you begin with the design?
I had inspiration from a couple of clients I've had over the last couple of years, particularly women who are retired, quite elderly, who live on their own and are looking to invest in their garden for different reasons. But a common theme was for both of them was to have a little bit of fruit in their garden with raised beds, just so that they could have access to grow your own, but not wanting a kitchen garden, not wanting masses to do.
What I noticed is that you've got this really fantastic border. How do you go about creating a border in your garden?
Before the border happens with a design, you think about the function and the space and the zonings. So you think about the layout, what zones people want, what spaces people want, and how you circulate between all the various places. Even though we've got a lot of gravel here, it's a feeling of space, of usable space, and it's balanced. When we're working with planting design, so that it looks coherent, we repeat certain forms and plants. So your first job, I always start with a structure. Where do the trees go? Where do the evergreens go? And where do we repeat those forms? And then the icing on the cake is the colour. Okay, so we've got Dicentra for more woodland part shade borders, and they have quite an elegant flower stem that rises up. At ground level, we've got here Melica, and these are just starting to come into flower now. We've got Blechnum spicant here, we've got Liriope providing a contrast of textures, and Brunnera with the silvery green that does well, forming a nice carpet. The pop of orange from Jayum is something that we've repeated right round because it will generally do quite well in a multitude of aspects. Raven's wing, which is a little bit like a cow parsley kind of flower, hasn't quite come out yet. And we've repeated Cecularia autumnalis throughout this scheme to give us that unity of planting. And looks lovely. It's just about to come out into flower, but the leaves look great at lower level underneath the Dicentra as well. Again, continuing the woodland theme to this far end of the border, we've got the Dicentra again with the Brunnera and the Liriope in the foreground, and then as ground cover, to avoid having to weed, we've got this attractive glossy green leaf, Pachysandra terminalis, and we think the contrast of the foliage of the Pachysandra with the Dicentra works really well together. Near border, we do have the Taxus baccata balls, which we've repeated right round the garden. We're moving into wallflowers, Erissimum bowls mauve. We've got Hebe repeated just to give some contrast and a break from all the colour, with Veronica and Camassia and the repeated Cecularia autumnalis. And contrasting, we think works really nicely, is the Heuchera obsidian with the dark purple leaves. Works particularly well with the Erissimum budding flowers, and they work well together.
On the channel this year, we've been quite focused on seasonality. So how do you make sure in your planting plan that this garden will look pleasant even in winter?
Well, that's where the structure comes. Planting design for me always starts with that structure. So you start with your trees. So your apple trees will have some structure. You will have the fruit in the autumn, you have the blossom in the spring. The birch will lose its leaves, but it will still have movement in the wind. The pine is evergreen, you'll have rain and snow on that. Most of the perennials will have died back, and you'll be left with the repeated forms of the eudomes. And they have the opportunity to be covered in frost, snow, and to have those shapes helps, I think, bring it together.
A massive thank you to Melissa for giving us this masterclass. I hope you were taking notes. I've left a link down below to Melissa's work so that you can find her and follow her journey.
When we think about flower shows, the last thing that we think about is a supermarket. But here at the Harrogate Flower Show, there's one supermarket that's partnered up with a designer to create something extremely special. And this designer is pretty much the backbone of the show. I've heard that he's been helping everybody out. So let's go and take a look at this garden.
I'm Phil from Horticap, and we look after adults with learning difficulties and teach them horticulture.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the garden?
So the garden this year has been sponsored by Tesco.
Oh.
And what we're trying to create is a silent area of the busy supermarket where people can sit. So we've introduced this beautiful dry stone wall seating area, which is at the moment it's about 6 foot.
Okay.
It will be about 20 foot long.
Wow.
And we're going to create a Horticap garden in the grounds of the supermarket. So we're super excited because it makes us a bit of money, donations and all that. But the other thing is, it gives a piece of Harrogate to our students that can really feel empowered and say, this is our little space down at Tesco. So they do the shopping,
yeah,
and then they go sit and enjoy their work. Because it's a show garden, we go for what's flowering now, so it's, looking good. So what's flowering now, what looks good now,
yeah.
That's what we do for the flower show.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is, if anyone doing it permanent for their place, is look for colour throughout the year. And get the flowers that might be flowering now in spring, but summer and autumn. And seasonality, yeah. A lot of these shrubs at the back of here, it's great to see the apple blossom and stuff like that. But you see, that'll be gone, and the birch at the back, they all then bring something different in different seasons, and back in the autumn, they all change colour. So for every season, you've got some sort of interest in your garden, whether that's big or whether that's small.
Can you talk to me about the bug hotel, because
yes.
This is an incredible piece. I love all of the layers, and it's pretty big, but
yeah.
You can change and adapt this to suit a small space, can you?
Absolutely. So normally when we do a bug hotel, it would be big pallets, yeah. Massive garden. If you've got a smaller garden, like I've done there, is chop them down by half, and people think, well, that takes a lot of the space of the garden. It doesn't take any footprint at all, because as you see now, it elevates the garden. So you start off with the pallet. Yeah, you go the pallet at the bottom and just work your way up. Screw it in, make sure it's secure.
Yeah.
And then start filling it with anything you find in the garden. Mm-hmm. Fill it with whatever you've got, stones. We've even got scaffold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, scaffold. Well, that's great, because you just want nicks and crannies for whatever goes in there, the wood lice or solitary bees or what have you. If you don't want it to impact your garden, then stop it sort of chest height and make a container at the top of it. Fill it with
just
some
more pallets.
Absolutely. Use pallets. Why use new wood when you can reclaim the pallets, and then put your herbs on the top of it. And then you've got your garden then, and then it's great then, because you can go out there and take your herbs for your cooking, and you're not impacting in your garden. So any size of garden you can have a bug hotel.
I mean, I think that is incredible. That's definitely a top tip that I'm going to be taking home with me.
It used to be an old railway depot.
Oh, I see. So the railway line.
So this is sort of the railway line, but when we get down there, I'm hoping to get some proper railway lines to a little tap of the hat for what they used to do. So,
you know, I absolutely love doing this series, because it's these little details that we as designers, we've probably spent ages trying to think about all these things, and these are the parts that always get missed. And it's these little details, things like the birds that you've got all around the garden. I think
so
it's really important.
so that you want a bit of interest, you know, especially for the younger people as well, the get them into gardening, is give them interest. That owl's real, you know. That owl looks, it's real, and so is my hedgehog down there. But it just shows a bit of, you know, find out how many birds there is, you know what I mean? So that go around looking for the birds. It just makes it really interactive and stuff like that. But eventually there'll be real hedgehogs living in my wall down in Harrogate.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you today.
Yeah.
And, I think I'm going to have to come along and have a look at the relocation.
I think you must do. Thanks ever so much.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm Helena, Helena Glassup. I've got a business, Euphorbia Garden Advice and Training, and yeah, I'm the designer of this garden. So, yeah.
Right, talk us through this garden.
So this is an edible garden. I wanted a garden that was ornamental, so it looks like it could be anybody's back garden, but actually everything in here has got an edible fruit or flower or shoot or leaf or root even. So yeah, everything in here is something that you could get some kind of food off, and we've partnered with York Food Bank to show that food sustainability is really important. There's so many people using food banks these days, but actually there's things that you can eat for free, and growing your own is a really great way to do that. Even if you've got no space whatsoever, growing your own is just, it's got so many health benefits, so we wanted to promote that, and the fact that everybody can do it. Even if you've got no resources, you can get involved with a packet of seeds and an empty tin, you can grow something.
What I love about the garden is that although it's an edible garden, there's still elements of colour in here as well. So can you talk us through how you bring colour into an edible garden?
Well, the colour is mostly edible flowers. So I've got the forget-me-nots in here, which you can eat the flowers of. The Aquilegia isn't quite out, but again, it's an edible flower. The lavender obviously is a bit of colour. This time of year, spring, it's been really difficult. So we've had to pick things. I've had to be really careful with my plant selection and choosing things that were going to be in flower at this time of year. Things like the apple blossom over there, I've been really lucky with, because that was just coming into bud when we got the plants. Nice. The Aronia again was just coming into bud. The Burberry Starwinia is a real pop of colour for this time of year. It's fantastic, that bright orange. And then my swinging tin cans, obviously that's not a plant, but people have been so impressed by the tin cans, and they've brought a sense of joy, the movement. People are just delighted by them. More people I think have taken photos of those than anything else in the garden.
Yeah, I think it's the movement of the tin cans. It's just swaying in the wind. I think it's really, really lovely.
Yeah, we've had a few people poke them and then run away laughing.
I thought as much. It looks like a health and safety nightmare.
It's not too bad. I was a bit worried that they would blow too much, but we sort of put them at a height which thought is probably not going to get too many people's heads as they go past.
And then, talking about the tins, there are quite a lot of repurposed elements within the garden.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more?
So I was really keen to make sure that if I was building a show garden, that everything was as sustainable as possible. So my contractor Ian Cowpins has been fantastic. He was working with me all the way through the process, working out where he could find repurposed materials. So all the wood that you can see around you that was sat around, that was all out of a building that was being refurbished. They were basically ripping a mezzanine floor out that had been in there for over 40 years, we think. So rather than buy new wood, we reused that. The seats that we're sitting on were made by Horticap, who are just fantastic. They're brilliant in everything they do.
And we met Phil earlier on.
You did meet Phil, yeah, you can't miss Phil, he's wonderful. Yeah, the tin cans are upcycled. The plants, when the garden is finished with, there's a few of them that we've loaned for the occasion rather than bought, but the plants that we have bought, the majority will go back into a community garden in York that's linked to the food bank. It's one of their collection sites, so they will benefit from having the plants afterwards. So if we've not had it recycled coming in, it will be recycled going out.
Amazing. So the garden will live on.
Yes, yeah, definitely. The structure of it doesn't, but the plants do.
That's incredible. And it got a gold medal.
It got a gold medal.
But
So, yeah.
I think you've done a fantastic job, and thank you for showing us around.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, you guys, I'm actually here for work because today I'm going to be speaking on the Human Gardener stage. I'm going to be speaking to my gardening mums, Faith and Sarah. So, whilst I'm at work, take a look around the show without me. This garden was designed by one of our favourite designers from the series. Her name is Pip Probert, and this was built in conjunction with British Garden Centres. This series has been running for about 2 years, and after today's masterclass, you guys are basically experts. So let's see if you can tell me what inspired this garden. Yes, that's correct. This garden was inspired by Narnia, and it also won 5 stars, and you can see why. Now, it's important to remember that these creative borders are not designed to be full gardens. Think about these borders as being little snippets of a larger garden, but it goes to show just what can fit in these small spaces. Creative borders can also have really strong messaging. This garden by Andrew Jackson is called Over the Fence. It's all about new build gardens and what you could do with a blank space. Andrew has over a decade's worth of experience in social housing. He's now using all of his expertise to advocate for better quality garden spaces in new build houses. He's created a campaign called the New Build Manifesto. The goal is to change the future of garden spaces in new builds. If you would like to find out more about Andrew's campaign, I've left a link in the description box below. Make sure to check it out.
So I'm Judith Hurley and I am currently Chair of Leeds Allotments Federation.
Thank you so much for having me. The garden is stunning. So much colour. Can you tell me a little bit more about the garden?
So it was based on the idea of one of our officers about a piece of barren land between 2 blocks of flats that the community came together and wanted to build something that could feed as well as be beautiful. And I think we've proven that. We all started off back in the depths of winter, growing at home in unheated greenhouses.
Wow.
To bring it on to this.
That's a lot of planning.
It's a lot of planning. We had lists of seeds that people were, and most of it's been grown from seeds. King Seeds were very generous and sent us a couple of £100 worth of seeds, and we've grown it, as I say, across Leeds. And we just wanted to prove that, as I said, it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds. You can just grow beautiful things on a budget.
Can you tell us a little bit more then about this concept about having a community garden within a development?
So in a development, we're aware that people have either got no outside space or very limited outside space, and some people don't know how to grow vegetables. You know, they've been brought up, a generation of, I think, have lost that, and you know, I learnt from my dad and my granddad, but people are not doing that now. So we wanted to bring it's not difficult. Stick a seed in some soil and give it a bit of water and some TLC. Generally it will grow, and it grows into something beautiful that you can then eat, and you can share it with your neighbours and your friends. And this is based on a cut and come again, so that you know there'll be some successional sowing, and hopefully it will take people through, so that eventually, once the early veg is finished, the idea would be that then you would put in pumpkins and autumnal vegetables, so there's something for the year.
One of the concerns of developers when I work with them is they say that gardens like this will be too much work, it's too costly, and there's a lot of maintenance involved, and they have questions about who would run it. What would you say to that?
I think communities run it themselves. I think you get people that will come together, and it just happens. And this has cost probably £2,000, which in the scheme of some of these beautiful gardens here,
that is a fraction.
That is just pocket money, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, and I think if something like this is created, people will come together and keep it going and bring, as I say, friends and family along. If they've got a space, you know, these chairs that we sat on, I rescued from the tip, and we made them safe and painted them a beautiful colour. So you don't have to spend lots of money, and people will come and people will look after it, because why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. And one thing I would like to ask is, for a lot of people watching, they have just got either courtyards if they're in a back-to-back, or balcony gardeners. Can we do any of this in container form?
Absolutely.
Oh, right. Come on down. Well, what's going in the container?
So if I was to, if you came this time tomorrow when we start to break this stall down, lots of this is in troughs.
Oh, wow.
So it's been grown in troughs, so that because we didn't want to keep transplanting it, so it's been grown in troughs.
Yep.
So we've bought those troughs here and we've buried them for the show. But they would grow, they'll go on. I will take mine home and they'll grow on in troughs at home.
Okay.
And you can grow all year round in troughs.
Yeah.
And over the years we've done different variations, and the majority has been grown in long oblong troughs.
One thing I'm not good at, I don't particularly pay any attention to, is spacing.
No, we
in
don't.
troughs, because I think I'm only using them for cut and come again. Do you use the same method?
Absolutely, yeah.
So-
who wants a cabbage the size of a football if you're feeding 1 or 2 people?
Yeah. So you have your trough about there and you just fit.
So they're about 1 metre long, and we would put in 8 maybe, and we do that successionally right through the season.
Right now my shard is bolting. Met another community group and they said if it's bolting, cut it before it gets going, and it'll just continue.
It'll come back, and I think the March that we had was so warm, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So everything got a bit stressed. The rhubarb's been bolting.
Really?
Because it's got so hot and stressed, and now next week it's going to get hot and stressed again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the joys of being a gardener, isn't it? You've got to work with
nature,
climate change and nature and everything else that's going on around us. But yeah, if you chop them, the stems as they try and set seed, because that's all they're doing. They're thinking, oh my god,
we need to make seeds.
And we'll make seeds, so you just chop them off.
Right, that is it. But I'm going home to go and
chop my chard.
Chop my chard. But look, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but thank you so much.
And it's lovely to see you again.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My name's Jan Gleaves and I'm part of Harrogate International Partnerships.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Now listen, when I come to a flower show, I expect to see lots of flowers and it can get a bit tedious and a bit boring. This is not that.
No, this is a bit different.
Talk me through this garden. What's happening here?
Okay, well Luchon is a small town in the Pyrenees, foothills of the Pyrenees, and it's also a spa town, and it has its own little ski resort.
And what's the connection between Luchon and Harrogate?
We've been twinned for 70 years.
70?
Yeah, it's one of the oldest twinnings in the country. Started by 2 innovative mayors, one from Luchon, one from Harrogate.
And what is a twinning? What does that mean?
It's sort of promoting international relations. So after the Second World War, the idea was to twin towns, get them to exchange cultural, historical, all sorts of things, just to get people involved with other things and activities.
And what kind of historical events have happened in Luchon?
Well, one of the main things was during the Second World War, when the Allied pilots were shot down, the passeurs who lived in the mountains would take the pilots down the escape lines and over the Pyrenees into Spain, where they would be returned to England, to France, or wherever they were coming from. Last year they replaced the cable car, but this week in Luchon they've also opened the train station again, which has been closed for many years.
I never would have thought, coming to the Harrogate Flower Show, that I was now learning all of this
about Luchon.
About Luchon. So, and word has it that you're not a normal garden designer. Is that
No,
right?
I'm an illustrator and painter by trade, and I work with Harrogate International Partnerships, so it was my pleasure to design the garden, even though I don't know a lot about plants, but I had lots of help and the team have done a wonderful job. Yeah, planting.
And well, if you can, talk us through the planting then.
I can't. These are the experts. I know I love the colour schemes and I put together all the ideas, but I relied on lots of people who know about flowers, planting, and also I must mention we had Horticap who were here,
yes.
and we bought the plants through Horticap.
Oh, amazing.
And Steve Darley at Horticap helped me choose the alpines and things like that. So
that's incredible.
it was.
I think you've done such an amazing job. To be able to tell a story like that just through the garden in itself is a real incredible feat. And the fact that you got, is that 5 stars?
5 stars.
5 stars.
We are very happy with that.
Yeah, you really should be. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
The only reason why I didn't leave with any plants is because I left after the show had finished. To be honest, it's probably a good thing because I've got nowhere to put any new plants. But it's not just about the plants, because you can also pick up lots of different types of trinkets to really spruce up your garden and give it a completely different feel. Now, my friends over at Enchanted Earth created this extraordinary display stand. Just look at the creativity that's gone into some of these pots and containers. Next show, I am going to go and visit them and find out how do they put all of this together. I'm not gonna lie, this is a trap because all of these stores are just located next to the exit, meaning you cannot leave with nothing.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed hanging out with me today. And my very next balcony video, I'm going to show you how to put some of the tips that we've learned today into practice, starting with perennials. Anyway, hopefully I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye.